What NFC East receiver might be on the move next weekend? Should you ever have to rebuild your teams in Dynasty? And what NFC West running back continues to see his FFPC ADP plummet? Plus, 2016 FFPC Dynasty 500 number 4 champion Bill McCall drops by to share his thoughts on exploiting rookie draft picks, whether a sophomore tight end is going to take a big step forward, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Dave Gerzak is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now listening to the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. It's the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for football analysis from the best fantasy players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Dave Gerzak.
Thank you so much, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Gerzak addicts. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com right here on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. I'm your slightly above average host, Eric Balkman, and my co-host is the patron saint of fantasy football. He is the Dizzle. He is Dave Gerzak. Coming up on tonight's show, what rookie receiver is being removed from teams' boards days until the start of the draft? Who is this year's Jordan Howard? And Bill McCall answers your questions on how he won the FFPC 500 number 4 league, whether you should be worried about C.J. Anderson, and much more. Shout out to the chat room right now. Feel free to post any questions you might have in there. If you want to connect with us on Twitter, at HSFFHour, at Eric Balkman, at David Gerzak is where you can find us. You can post on our Facebook page at facebook.com/HSFFHour. If you want to chime in and give us a call tonight, 347-426-3682. That's 347-GAME-OVER. You can also email the show at the inbox, highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. If you have any questions for us, now is the time to send them. Our audio engineer, Bryce, the webmaster, is going to be working on getting those questions to us. And, of course, the man pushing all the buttons tonight, except for the ones I push, is our mutual friend and producer, Rob. Fantasy feedback will be on later in the show, second half of the show, and we'll get to all those questions, all your tweets, all your emails, everything else after that. The show has kicked off, and already we have a post from Two-Packer in the chat room, Dave. Can we get a confirmation in 2 weeks? Will we have 2 hours of coverage of the Revelations draft and none of the redheaded stepchild Genesis? Dems fighting words, as the kids say. Do we have any finality on this? Will we cover just one draft this year? Are we just going to do Revelations for 2 hours?
No, we're going to check out Genesis, Balky.
So maybe we'll start off with Revelations this year for the first hour, do Genesis in the second hour.
Let's take a look at, we're pretty aware of who's in the Revelations draft. Let's check out who's in the Genesis draft, and we'll
make the decision.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll go
fair enough.
Just kind of like the feature table at the World Series of Poker. You want the one with Negreanu, Helmuth, all those guys.
Is that Revelations?
Yes, at this point it is. I don't want these knobs to get big egos though.
Right. Yeah.
This is the problem.
I think that ship has sailed, my friend.
That's a good point.
That ship has sailed. All these Revelations guys. So a bit of a housekeeping at the top of the show for anybody who's listening. Well, we will be doing 2 shows in 6 days, essentially. So there will be no show next Friday. Yes, there will be no show next Friday. We will be doing a special Wednesday night show. Still at 10/9 Central, but this coming Wednesday will be your High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. And then the following Friday, we'll be covering Revelations and Genesis live. That's an hour earlier. That's at 9/8 Central coming up on Friday.
So why aren't we doing the show on next Friday?
We will not be doing a show next Friday because you, I, and Two-Packer will be in Chicago hanging out with some FFPC players down there,
Andrew
or maybe
Howard.
Just an FFPC player, Andrew Howard. Of course,
I still have to email Jack Hahn.
And Jack Hahn.
I don't know if we're hanging out.
I'd like to see Jack. I mean, it's sort of like a tradition to see Jack Hahn down there at the draft. So that'd be very cool.
Even though the draft is not down there.
Even though the draft is not down there.
We'll be
watching
there on a television screen, as well as other screens in the other parts of the country.
This is sort of like our unofficial getaway before sort of the floodgates open when we're commissioning and we're doing, getting everybody's entry fees and everything taken care of over the summer. So this is my last hurrah until Vegas. So that's the way I look at it.
So just doing it that fun.
Yes, very much so.
All right, very good.
Let's get to the show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, if you have not signed up for the FFPC main event, what in the hell are you waiting for? Sign up now, myffpc.com. You can get in on that early bird discount that expires at the end of next month. Make sure that you are signing up for your discounted rooms. Planet Hollywood has slashed prices for the FFPC for the room rates there, so make sure you are getting in on that.
They also have an Earl of Sandwich. It's very tasty.
So I've heard.
Yep.
They are going to be rolling out the red carpet for us. They're very excited to be back on the Strip, very excited to be at Planet Hollywood. For all the live events, which you can sign up for on myffpc.com, and if you can't wait that long, we have 2 live drafts going on tomorrow. We have slow drafts going on all weekend, all at myffpc.com. Check that out for anybody who is interested in drafting right now. Thanks to Roto World and Rob for tonight's rundown. NFL Network draft expert. He is a draft expert, Dave. Not an analyst. He is an expert. So we will take his opinion.
Mike Mayock is kind of an expert.
With a massive, massive grain of salt.
He spends a lot of time on this crap.
Well, Mike Mayock said Friday that some NFL teams have completely taken off Washington wide receiver John Ross from their draft boards due to the health concerns they have on him. Now, John Ross, in addition to breaking that combine record in the 40 that was previously held by Chris Johnson, he's already torn both the ACLs in his knee. He's already had his shoulder surgically repaired as well. So you look at John Ross, mentioned among the top 3 receivers, I would say, with Corey Davis and Mike Williams in the NFL draft. Dave, if you are a GM, if you're looking at a potentially, much more than just the speed receiver, because we've seen what he can do with the full route tree, what he's done at Washington, what would you be doing with John Ross? Because to me, he deserves to be in that conversation at a minimum.
What would I be doing if I was as a dynasty drafter?
I'm sorry, as a dynasty drafter. I'm not going to give you the credit that you could run an NFL team. I'm sorry. This is a bad phrasing of the question.
I would consider looking at him. He's probably, though, near the bottom of my list of those kind of elite guys. He's near that 6'7" range. I'd probably look at O.J. Howard as well, especially in FFPC leagues ahead of him.
We have
I think I would take him over. I'm not a big fan of Mike Williams.
Right.
Clemson, so.
I think we've learned that over the last few weeks on the show that you're not a huge fan of his. We do have an email coming up in the second half of the show that's going to ask for your top 5 dynasty receivers in this draft.
Oh, so I should actually get a list together.
Is John Ross in your top 3 right now? I guess this would help you.
He's number 2.
Since I didn't tell you this beforehand that this email came in.
He's probably number 2, but
he's number 2 behind Corey Davis.
Yeah, but the receivers and Howard are behind the running backs, like the top 4 backs. Even Dalvin Cook.
Dynasty is on its ear this year with the running backs being pushed up and the receivers falling.
This is new for me. I'm actually kind of disregarding Cook's kind of crappy combine a little bit because I did watch a lot of tape. Not a lot, but for me a lot.
Hey, if you wanted to watch you could have watched Florida State games with me this past fall. It would have been a great time.
I read the write-ups and everything. Yeah. I mean, and it's true. He's very explosive on the field.
Yeah, he definitely is. And we saw the Sports Science. I think I sent that article to you about how Dalvin Cook is measured as one of the fastest players on the field in the past 10 years or whatever. How long they've been doing this.
And I said in the group chat, I thought that was actually interesting and useful information. And the reason is because it is, I do believe in the science when they're talking about that, and that he's on the field, so scientifically he has speed on the field, and I think that you can kind of substitute that if you're a metrics person, you could say, all right, well there's some kind of proof, some validation of what the film shows right there.
Right. When you look at Dalvin Cook and Christian McCaffrey,
we've gone away from wide receivers now to talk.
Yeah, I know it's ridiculous. You actually made a deal in one of your dynasty leagues today. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about what you gave up and what you moved to in your rookie draft in that league?
Yeah, this is the Beaver Dynasty League is the name of it. It's on MFL if you want to search for it. It's probably not safe for work. My team is either Flat Earth Society or the Earth is Flat, one of those two. I'm going with Flat Earth type teams this year because, wake up, everybody. The Earth is flat.
Get woke.
Get woke, as Nick Manfield said. Anyway, so I traded the 105 and the 112 to go to the 102, and I'm going to take McCaffrey there unless Fournette falls to me.
You're going to take Fournette or McCaffrey.
Yeah, I would assume that McCaffrey's going to be there and not taken first. And you never know. You just never know, though, because, I mean, there's been talk about McCaffrey going at number 8 to the Panthers. I mean, I don't know if that's in your rundown here.
I think it might be in there.
The Panthers GM said that he considers McCaffrey
a good fit.
Yeah.
It's a good fit for their offense. So it'd be him and the Daily Show running things behind Cam Newton.
My personal preference for McCaffrey, for me, I'd rather not have him go there because I don't like Cam Newton swiping all the touchdowns. Even though McCaffrey's not a goal line type guy, but he definitely won't get goal line looks if he goes at number 8.
Yeah, he definitely will not. It's going to be an interesting top. I mean, like normally we look at the NFL draft and it's usually not that exciting for the top 7 or 8 picks for Dynasty because you're looking at people who.
You have like 2 guys or 3 guys that are good. Everybody else is
but I mean, there's quarterbacks, and then there's the pass rushers, and there's usually a secondary guy.
The overall draft, yeah.
But I mean, like now you could have a running back go at 4. You could have a running back go at 8. I mean, there's talk of Tennessee maybe taking a receiver or a tight end at 5. The whole thing could be bananas.
Well, I mean, I think this year's top 100, usually, I think there's going to be a ton of running backs, receivers, and tight ends especially in that top 100 pick. So it's going to be a really awesome first 2 days of the draft. Speaking
of running backs, let's get back to one of the most talked about running backs on this show in quite some time, and I think it goes without saying that this show has a definite stake in this next situation. Trying to balance out the board here. Marshawn Lynch, Dave. The deadline has been set, according to Vic Tafur on Twitter. Raiders GM Reggie McKenzie said that the draft is the team's deadline, that Marshawn Lynch either has to be signed or not signed by. Reggie McKenzie, this is the quote, "At some point, you would like to know." And then he follows up, "Prior to the draft is that point." Coach Jack,
he was a little annoyed.
Yeah, Coach Jack Del Rio said that every indication is that Lynch is excited to play for the Raiders, but the sides still have some obstacles to get past before a deal is reached between the team and the player.
So easy.
Once the deal is reached, then the Raiders and Seahawks have to agree on a trade. Talk should pick up within the next few days because, let's face it, the draft starts in less than a week. You look at Marshawn Lynch, Dave.
Okay, 1 year, $8 million, right?
Yikes, $8 million?
Yeah, sure. He's a famous guy. He's good.
That's probably what he's asking for.
Okay,
I would
fine.
not pay $8 million.
Give him 5 or 6. They'll agree on that. Don't worry about that part. And then you offer him like a conditional 6, a conditional pick, right? Whatever, random pick, and if they go to the playoffs, whatever. It's not that hard. This deal can be made in like 40 minutes.
Are you? To me, it sounds like you've resigned yourself that Lynch is coming back at this point.
Well, if he wants to come back, he can. There's an offer, I'm sure, on the table for him. Maybe it's $3 million. But I mean, Rex Burkhead got $3 million. He should at least like 4 or 5, right?
Good. Yeah, I would think yes.
So like, let's say $5 million. Take that deal. Don't try and hold out for like 8 or like I said. And then let the trade go down. The trade should be really easy. This should be no problem.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the trade necessarily, just the compensation. Wasp Guy, good friend of the show, chiming in the chat. Lynch not that impressive in last appearance. Worried? And I think...
Well, that's a different story.
Let's switch to that topic conversation. And I think that you and I alluded to this a few weeks ago. I was willing to take him earlier than you were, but at the way he's going in drafts right now, I don't think either one of us is going to get like 5th, 6th round, something like that. I don't think I would take him there. Not with Washington there, not with Richard there, not with how he looked. Lynch wasn't very good in 2015 either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I think that there's a lot to be said for Marshawn Lynch being overvalued this year, and he's a guy that you're not going to get a starting running back of the caliber of Marshawn Lynch in like the 5th, 6th round. I just will probably avoid him there, and hopefully I already have 2 decent running backs on my team.
5th, 6th round, I would look at him for sure.
I would look at him, but I probably would not take him.
I would possibly draft him. Yeah,
okay. So maybe we flip-flopped on that a little bit.
Maybe.
Moving on, Jimmy Kemsky from the Philly Voice says he thinks it would make a lot of sense for the Eagles to trade Jordan Matthews right now. Kemsky does not expect to give the Eagles to give Jordan Matthews an extension onto his contract at any point, and right now he is coming into the final year of his deal. Eagles GM Howie Roseman is opposed to an extension. If he is opposed to an extension, there's only 2 options here. You can either trade Jordan Matthews what would probably be a round 2 or round 3 pick, or you could let him play out this final year of his deal, and then maybe you get a compensatory pick in 2019 in the 3rd to 4th round area. Alshon Jeffrey, Torrey Smith, both joining the Philadelphia passing team this year.
The overrated wide receiver.
The Eagles. And they also have Zach Ertz there.
By the way, Scott Atkins today on Facebook said, very nice guy,
Yeah.
I like Scott. We're good buddies. He said that the Eagles' wide receiving core is underrated. And I'm like, underrated?
Yeah.
I mean, most of them suck. And, like, Torrey Smith underperforms all the time, so he's overrated.
Yeah.
Jeffrey's always hurt. He's overrated. Matthews is a slot guy who's not performed as well as he had hoped.
The problem is everybody's listening to the Dizzle. So everybody's just totally throwing him under the bus. And Scott Atkins is, of course, like, look, don't just take the Dizzle as gospel.
Whatever.
Don't underrate these guys. So
he likes them. I mean,
Jordan
Green Beckham's been terrible so far.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like
might not make the team.
Seems like a bust.
Yeah. And Nelson Aguilar.
Yeah, he's terrible too. These guys can't pick wide receivers to save their ass.
They're like the Patriots. How the Patriots could never draft good receivers. They just go out and get them.
They should. It's not a bad Philly voice. Good job, Jimmy. Trade him.
My point with having this in here is I think if you own Jordan Matthews in Dynasty, you're rooting for him to get traded to a different team because, honestly, anywhere is better than Philadelphia. Now, the only reason it could be better for him to stay in Philly is essentially Torrey Smith, Jordan Matthews, and Alshon Jeffrey are really all on one-year deals this year.
Yeah.
Jeffrey can be gone pretty easily after this year. I mean, I think his deal is literally a one-year deal. Torrey Smith, the guaranteed money, I think, runs out after this year.
He's getting old and he's not that great.
And the thing is, he's getting old, and speed was always his game. That's one of the first things to go.
Yeah, exactly. It's like all he runs is 9 routes. It seems like that's all he does.
So, and then you have Jordan Matthews, who maybe takes a year off from being the Eagles' number one, and then he's the number one on this team next year.
But he's not the number one wide receiver.
But it doesn't. Again.
Sigmund Bloom was right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, his rookie year. He just.
Sigmund, we liked him. I like Matthews.
Yeah.
Bloom was right. I was wrong. I'll say that. I'll admit it right now.
Yeah.
In fact, he could make that part of the intro to this next show.
Oh yeah. I mean that's.
I'm sure he doesn't.
Right
care.
up there with.
I'm sure he cares less. But he was totally right that he's more of a slot receiver. He's not going to command the ball on the outside. Yeah, and he for whatever reason he just has not been able to put it together. And you remember everybody was expecting all these targets for him last year with Carson Wentz. He's a fine pro. I mean, he's an excellent wide receiver. Better NFL player than fantasy player. He's probably as good as like Robert Woods, who got overpaid, right? Did Robert Woods get overpaid? I kind of like him this year. Well, hey, you want to talk about an underrated receiver? Not enough people are talking up Robert Woods. What was his contract? I thought that was it was a good chunk of change, but again, there's no Kenny Britt there. You have Tavon Austin, Brian Quick's gone. Not that was that great, but unless who's throwing the ball again? It'll be Jared Goff. Oh my God. They called it Goff back then. Dude, did you see? I mean, I cannot get past how bad Goff looked in preseason. I mean, so terrible. Sean McVay is the new coach. He can't, because does he throw the ball for him? No, he'll tell him how to throw it the right way. Yeah, just hey, listen. This is the first meeting. 5 years, $39 million. Jared, listen. All you need to do, this knuckle, put it on this stitch of the football, and it's going to sail so much better. It looks like he weighs like 190. It's like 6'4". East Carolina wide receiver Zay Jones scheduled to meet with the Tennessee Titans this past week on Tuesday. The Titans, again, looking for more weapons to add to that passing game that already features Tajay Sharp, Rashard Matthews, Delaney Walker. Jones looking to be a good selection for teams in the second or third round of the 2017 NFL Draft. Kind of a polished guy, really high numbers as far as catches, yards, and touchdowns go in the collegiate ranks. Does that translate into the pros for Zay Jones, Dave? Because it seems like you've talked him up quite a bit over the last month and a half. I do like him, yeah. I'll take him. For sure. Second or third round, would this be a good fit for Tennessee? I think so. They need somebody to play. Their wide receivers are not great. I think he will be able to play outside. That's the question to me, because I look at him and I just see slot guy, and maybe he'll be a good slot guy, but to me that's his ceiling. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to play on the outside. But the thing is, Tennessee really doesn't have any outside receivers. They got all these slot guys and nobody who can really set the boundary out there. I mean, his production was just unreal. Yeah, it was insane. I don't know. I'll take him all day long. Yeah. We will take our guest all day long, and in fact, in a couple of minutes, right after this. You are listening to the high-stakes fantasy footballer Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, Bill McCall, the FFPC 2016 500 number 4 winner, coming up right after this on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Less than a week away are we from the NFL Draft here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I am Eric Balkman. He is Dave Gerzak. I want to
take this opportunity now to bring in tonight's guest. He started playing fantasy football in 2010 in a redraft league at work, and despite losing badly, he said he quickly became excited about playing more. In 2012, he joined the FFPC, and he began playing Dynasty in 2013 with $500 league number 4 when it started up. He is a lifelong Bears fan, and he's lived in Denver for the last 2 decades. He also likes the Broncos. He was able to come away with the FFPC 500 Dynasty number 4 title last season. You know him as Bear Den in the FFPC. We know him as Champion Bill McCall. Tonight, Bill, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks, guys. Good evening. How's everybody doing?
We're doing great here in beautiful Wisconsin. The snow is almost melted all the way.
Almost.
I'm wearing
the ice is falling on the way.
I'm wearing my summer parka. It's a great time to be alive, and we get to talk to another great FFPC Dynasty champ on the show tonight, Bill. So thanks so much for joining us. Before we get into the fantasy football discussion, tell the listeners when you're not playing Dynasty what you are doing for a living.
Yeah, thanks again for having me. I'm excited to be on and chat with you guys, get to talk a little bit of fantasy football tonight. That's always fun. For work, I'm a senior sales rep here in Denver for Paylocity. We're a national provider of outsourced payroll and human capital management technology, and we focus on mid-sized companies, 50 to 2,000 employees, kind of the wheelhouse, and it's a lot of fun. I've been in the industry about 17 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. How do you like living in Denver?
Denver's awesome.
Or in Colorado, I should say.
Yeah, Colorado in general, but Denver, great city, great sports city with the Broncos, the Rockies, all the sports. But we've got the mountains, skiing, snowboarding, mountain biking. If you like the outdoors, it's a great place to be. So we've loved it all these years.
You know, I'm not judging here, and far be it for me to say anything, but there's a big holiday among some marijuana enthusiasts this past week. What was that like in Colorado, Bill?
How many Domino's cars did you see
it was
just flying around?
Like were the Papa John's stores being looted? Was it just crazy?
There was mayhem going on downtown. I actually had a 3 o'clock meeting downtown yesterday, and I'm trying to get to it. There's a bunch of traffic, and I can hear live music thumping. And I'm rolling the window down. I'm like, what's going on? And then it hit me. Oh, yeah, it's 4/20, April 20th, and it was about 3 o'clock, and they had this huge screen across the park and live music, all these people. It was a pretty wild scene. Luckily, I was there an hour and a half ahead of time, so I was able to get through.
Did you get a contact buzz at all with your windows down?
My windshield was fogging up. I don't know.
People just dressed up like Jerry Garcia and Willie Nelson.
It's everything you could imagine and then some. You'll have to come out for it sometime.
I would love to do that. Yeah.
So they should have like a festival for that. Anyway.
Yeah. Hey,
right.
Small Business and Fantasy Sports Trade Association. Once we get this whole fantasy football thing ironed out, let's tackle weed.
Yeah.
Let's get weed legalized. Yeah.
By the way, the law in Colorado is probably the best fantasy sports law out there. So you're in great shape.
Maybe we should get weed. Let's get weed legalized in all these other states, and then maybe the fantasy football stuff will just come right after that.
Exactly. Colorado's a chill state.
Yeah. Chill, clear eyes, full hearts.
Yeah.
Can't lose.
300 days of sun. All right, Jimmy, congrats on the.
Bill. Steve, listen. We're not just talking about weed. We actually have some right in front of us.
That's why I applaud.
Yeah, I know.
Right. I'm an idiot, Bill.
It's
Sorry.
all right.
William, congrats on the 500 number 4 league. Tell us a little bit about one of your receivers from that team, Alshon Jeffrey. He's got a 1-year contract like we were talking about. Are you happy to see him land on Philadelphia, and what kind of season do you think he's going to have this year?
I am. I think it's really the best spot, the best situation that could have happened for him. I heard you guys talking about him and kind of bashing on him a little bit. He deserves it for being hurt, getting suspended. He really didn't help my team last year. He helped a little bit down the stretch, but it was kind of a wash year for him. But I do see him bouncing back pretty well this year. As far as where he could have gone, being on the 1-year deal with a lot of incentives, he's going to be working hard and wanting to earn that next contract. And being a Bears fan, unfortunately, we're back to no quarterback situation. And for the receivers there, it's going to be kind of a mixed bag in Chicago with Mike Glennon. Not sure what to expect there. Could be interesting, but I definitely like Carson Wentz better for a receiver's chances. He showed a lot of promise in his rookie year last year. He can throw the ball down the field. He's not afraid to throw the ball down the field. So, yeah, I'm pretty excited for Jeffrey. I actually, in this league, picked up Carson Wentz off the waiver wire kind of later in the season. and actually held him through the cut down, hoping that Jeffrey would sign. Maybe I can't remember the cut down date. I think maybe we knew that he signed at that point, but I was hoping for that stack potential for next year, and it turned out. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah, and Carson Wentz, the other thing to keep in mind for anybody who owns him in Dynasty, whether these guys are going to be as good as advertised or not, the fact is the Philadelphia front office is going out and giving him these weapons. They're making sure that Ertz and Jordan Matthews are there. They're getting Torrey Smith. They're getting Alshon Jeffrey. They're trying to put the pieces in place for Carson Wentz to succeed, much in the same way that Washington did with Kirk Cousins over the last couple of years. So the pieces are there. It worked for Cousins. We'll see if it can work for Wentz this year as well. Let's talk about a trade that you made this past November, Bill. You made the move. You get rid of Eric Ebron and Giovanni Bernard, and in return, you bring back Clive Walford and T.Y. Hilton. Give us a little bit of the thought process behind that deal.
Yeah, it actually ties into Jeffrey's situation even a little bit. I knew I had a team that was scoring well, had a chance to do something in the playoffs last year, and needed to shore up wide receiver a little bit with Jeffrey being suspended. And I looked around to try to find some receivers that maybe I could trade for, that maybe their value was down a little bit compared to where the production was. And that was really a theme for me last year in terms of, we'll talk about rebuilding in a minute here, but bringing in some receivers that were producing, but not, their ADPs were much lower than where I saw their production. And so T.Y. Hilton, obviously, he's up there pretty high, but if you look at the ADPs back in October, he was kind of running in that 20 to 25 range overall, but he ended up the number 5 PPR wide receiver in FFPC leagues last year, and I was just able to work out a deal. I'd hit that owner up about T.Y. because he had talked about maybe trading him in the past, and had a couple other options ideas out there, but I was definitely excited most about T.Y. given the production, and he's 27, so he's got a prime window coming into the prime of his career with Indianapolis at this point. So Walford, I didn't really see a ton of value there. I did end up dropping him a little bit later, actually, to bring some players on for protection in the playoffs. I can't remember who I dropped him for, maybe J.J. Nelson or Ted Ginn, just to make sure those boom wide receivers were not out there for someone else to grab and play against me.
With the news that came out this week with Andrew Luck, too, that stating that he was hurt with this shoulder injury since, early 2015, I think that's got to give you a lot of confidence, Bill, in T.Y. Hilton, too, that Luck is going to be fully healthy this year. He's really going to be able to get the ball to Hilton in the right spots, and hopefully those guys will be able to connect better than ever now that Luck should be fully healthy, right?
Yeah, that's definitely the hope. I would think so. And Moncrief coming back healthy, too, should help open up the field a little bit. So, yeah, I would expect more of the same from T.Y.
All right, next question. And I like how this one's phrased because it actually has his name right in here, so I can't screw this one up.
Thank Rob for that.
What's your opinion on rebuilding, Bill?
Yeah, right.
If you run your team correctly, do you ever need to rebuild? And we have, I know Jake Rickroad says no.
Oh, which, by the way, I don't know if you saw this. I'll interrupt you. Jake Rickroad, RotoWorld.com published writer, Jake Rickroad.
Really?
Had an article published on RotoWorld I think it was this past week, and Sean Siegel was actually pimping it up on RotoViz.
Yeah, he owes it all up.
Yeah.
Or is it, and not as good articles or thoughts.
Right.
Or is it inevitable sometimes to have to rebuild?
Well, I mean, obviously we should just take first place every year. There should be no need for a rebuild, right?
That's my plan. I have yet to execute it. It's been many years.
I mean,
it's not worked out.
If things kind of go generally the way they should, then my hope would be to not have to be doing much rebuilding from a team that you take from the beginning in a startup draft. Different if you come in, take over a team that's an orphan, but there's going to be some inevitabilities too. There's so many things that can happen and change in real football in terms of injuries and contracts, and coaching systems change all the time, and things change that can dramatically affect player values all of a sudden. I mean, look at DeAndre Hopkins and Allen Robinson last year, where their ADPs are still real high. They're still great athletes. They're still real young, but there's got to be some question marks after the type of season they had last year. Not that you'd have to rebuild with those guys, but you get the point that things can change quickly, and you might find yourself in a rebuilding situation. And for me, as you guys read in the start of the call here, it was my first foray into playing Dynasty and still being fairly new to fantasy football in general at that point. It's a big difference in terms of having to study rookies and really know everything about every player that you can, and that's really exciting about it. That's why Dynasty is my favorite format at this point. But the second year in, I made the playoffs first year, had a good chance, but it didn't work out. Second year in, halfway through the season, I quickly realized, wow, this team isn't going to sustain, and so I needed to rebuild and went young for that second season. Made a few trades, really stacked up on young talent and higher ADPs, and then I was able to this past season. Started to contend again in year 3, got to the point where I was able to get the number 1 seed, which really helped with Zeke Elliott coming out in the draft that next year. I drafted David Johnson that prior year at 2.6 in the draft, and so the team started to come together. And then these couple trades, I also traded for Demaryius Thomas this past season, along with T.Y. Hilton and some good waiver pickups along the way, like Stephon Diggs in his rookie year. It's all kind of come together for this team at this point.
One of the things, and we're talking with Bill McCall, the FFPC 2016 500 number 4 champion here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. One of the things that was brought up in that Roto-World article that Jake wrote was, people always want to, in Dynasty, they want to win every year, but they want to constantly, not get old. They want to replenish their talent, make sure that their age is either staying the same, maybe getting a little bit younger. And he actually, one of the things that he wrote in there and had the data to back it up over the last 10 years or whatever it was that the bust rate for first-round picks is actually pretty similar to the bust rate for second-round picks. And I think what you can glean from that is the way that you replenish your roster and make sure that you're able to have these young guys that are able to contribute year after year is maybe trade out of the first round and not necessarily have load up on these premium first-round picks, but maybe load up on these second-round picks. And maybe instead of trying to get 3 or 4 first-rounders, maybe try to get 5 or 6 second-rounders. And if you're able to hit on those second-rounders, you should be hitting at them the same rate as first-rounders, and they're not going to cost you as much. And maybe that's the way that you keep your dynasty team competitive and in the championship window while not getting old. And I think that you touched on it, Bill, with getting David Johnson at the 206. That's a perfect example of a second-round pick that hit, and clearly he's the focal point of your team going forward. I don't know if you have any thoughts on maybe the advantages of loading up with second-round rookie picks as opposed to first-rounders.
Yeah, I could speak to that a little bit. I guess Nelson Aguilar, you guys were talking about him a little bit. He's a good example. I drafted him in the first round when he was coming out and was pretty excited about the Chip Kelly offense, and he's going to be the number 1 guy. And here he hasn't done anything a couple 3 years later. So I actually cut bait and dropped him middle of last season and just said I'm done. But that same year I got David Johnson at the 2.6. I got Duke Johnson at the 2.2. Definitely hit on an occasional second-round pick. And really my strategy overall even is I'm trying to acquire future year picks. Second, third round are great. If you can work something for a first rounder, even better. But to be able to build the team across multiple age levels. So to have a good mix of some rookies and young guys who have the potential but haven't produced yet, have the guys that are producing and coming into the prime. But even this past year, I've circled back to even some of these older guys who are hitting the 29, 30 year range, and they're producing way higher than their ADPs. Like, Michael Crabtree, I don't actually have on my team, but he's a good example. He produced at number 10, but ADP around 27 right now. Rashard Matthews and Pierre Garçon are 2 guys I picked up off the waiver wire, and they produced at 27 and 28 last year, wide receiver, and they're going at 48 and 66 as far as ADP. I think Mike Wallace at 24 last year, he's going around 77. He's another good example of someone that might fit into that, where if you can backfill, I guess, the roster with some guys that are producing that nobody else is really paying attention to or wants, and you can get for cheap. If you have a mix of all 3, it's really helping, I think.
Bill, and I think you kind of touched on this already, but this is the time of the year where rookie draft picks aside from when you're actually on the clock owning the pick, this is when their value is highest. This is when people covet them the most, when they will never have more information on these rookies than we will, at the start of rookie drafts after the NFL draft has happened. Have you been looking at maybe trading some of these first, second, third round picks for players that maybe don't have necessarily as high of a ceiling, but players that you're pretty confident won't bust? I mean, Larry Fitzgerald, it's going to be tough for a guy like him to bust at this point of his career. You look at what you could maybe get for some of these rookie picks in the area of veteran players. Have you explored that at all?
Yeah, I'm definitely game for that type of thought. I probably wouldn't go after Larry Fitzgerald with that high of a pick, given he probably has 1 year left, maybe two, but probably one. I think, what is he, 34 this year? So maybe a second-round pick or a third-round pick for him. But at the 112, it's kind of interesting. The draft is going to define a lot of what happens next, but right now it's a little bit of a no man's land. So I may trade down and out of that if someone's excited about that pick when we get to it. I'll probably hold it until that point to see what's available. And, if someone like Evan Ingram or John Ross is still there, I might be interested in those guys. We'll see what happens. I don't know that O.J. Howard would still be there. Probably not. It doesn't look like. But, a couple guys that are right at that point in ADP I'm not interested in, with David Njoku and Alvin Kamara. I see those two guys as potential busts or at least taking a long time to come to fruition. I probably don't want to hold them as long as what I'm thinking they might take. But, it's an interesting spot. So we'll see what's available and who will trade it.
Bill, let's talk about Njoku a little bit. I'm just curious because I've heard the Kamara bust argument, and it makes a lot of sense. But you talk about Njoku. I haven't heard a whole lot of people that are necessarily down on him. Talk a little bit about why you think he either is going to be a bust or maybe take a little bit longer to develop than a lot of dynasty owners maybe are thinking right now.
Yeah, and bust probably isn't the right word for him because he's so athletic and super talented. I just think, based on the lack of experience at the position overall and not as much production as some of the other players, that it's just going to take him some time. I don't see him doing a whole lot the first year, maybe not even second or third year, similar to Eric Ebron, where he came out with all this talent and just in his third year last year finally started to produce a little bit. So if you pick him, I think you just have to plan on holding him. It's the tight end story in general. And I feel the same way about Evan Ingram to some extent. It may take him some time, but again, it's going to depend on what team these guys go to and what system they're in and how they're going to use them. I think Evan Ingram, for my taste at least, has a little more experience and equal, if not better, talent to do something special.
It's interesting you bring up Evan Ingram. I was reading College Football Metrics.
R.C. Fisher, sure.
Yeah,
former guest of the show.
And he was talking about, I think it was Evan Ingram, and he was saying how he was undersized, and he says, everyone's wanting to compare him to Jordan Reed, and that all these NFL teams would say, we'll use him like Jordan Reed. But he was saying that NFL teams are like politicians, before the election. They're all talk, and then once it comes down to it, they're all talk, no action.
Yeah.
So, that was actually pretty
like week 4, you asked the head coach,
where's all the targets?
Yeah, we want him to block for us. We drafted him to be a blocker.
Yeah, he doesn't block that well, so he's not playing. He was the Tennessee coach from a couple years ago. That's the type of stupid thing he would say.
Right.
He's not a really good blocker. Well, no crap.
It's all about the synergy between the front office and the head coaches.
All right, we're going to stay here with tight ends, actually. Austin Hooper's on your team. Do you think he's actually going to be a top 12 tight end now as he enters his second year? You think he's breaking out?
Yeah, I really hope so. I think he'll come in right around that point, low tight end 2 or high tight end 2, low tight end 1, somewhere right around the 12 range. I mean, Matt Ryan has had a propensity to throw to tight ends throughout his career with Tony Gonzalez and Jacob Tamme, and now Hooper's number 1 on the depth chart there, and he did show flashes as a rookie, caught 4 touchdowns over the year, including in the Super Bowl. The offense last year, the question is, with Kyle Shanahan gone, is it going to be similar? But definitely see the opportunity for him to take that next step and be in that 12 range, hopefully in the 10 to 14 range. If he can do better, great. But I am excited about him and picked him in the upper mid-second round last year, so that could be another second-round pick example.
Bill McCall, and both Bill and I will be hanging with Mr. Hooper this year, as I own him in Blake Harrington Dynasty. Although I'm actually trying to flip him because I want to replace him with one of these, top 5 tight ends in the rookie draft this year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm trying to
I know what you mean, but
I'm not going to try to trade him to you.
So I'm just saying, so you don't.
It's like the evil genius.
No, you're just saying you don't like him as much apparently as some of the top 5 tight ends this year.
I don't know. Just like I feel like you're coming into Austin Hooper's sophomore year in the NFL, and this is the year that tight ends historically have taken that big leap forward. Right. Maybe the idea is to keep him on my roster this year and then have him blow up and then trade him. Maybe his value.
I don't think people in Carrington are astute enough to realize that there's a sophomore breakout coming.
I don't know about that.
They don't know what that
I think
means.
You sell the Carringtonians. I think you're selling them short.
Well, as a league champion, I don't think I did last year.
Zing.
Well, Eric, where would you rank him amongst the 5 this year that you're talking about? Where would Hooper slot into those?
That is a good question. Now, so if we had our top 5 tight ends, and we'll just say Howard, Njoku, Ingram, Hodges, and Everett. Does that sound right to you, Dave?
Yeah,
those 5.
That could be it.
So where would Hooper rank there? You wouldn't put him ahead of Howard. You probably wouldn't put him ahead of Njoku. Ingram is it's right around there. I think I'd put him ahead of Everett. I think I'd put him ahead of Hodges.
I like Hodges, but I mean, it depends on where these guys are drafted. It's a little bit uncertain.
It's tough to do right now, but he's in the mix, as the kids say.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bill McCall is our guest tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, the FFPC 500 number 4 champion. We're going to talk about what he is planning on doing with that 112 pick in his league. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak coming right back at you on the HSFF Hour on the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak coming back at you on the HSFF Hour here shortly before draft weekend. Are you sure you have nothing to say right now, Dave?
Well,
you have a bee in your bonnet right now.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You just mentioned the 112 pick. I think it's just.
I didn't just mention it. That was a few minutes ago before the break.
Yes, I hope anyone, if you're back, if you listen, heard that. Yeah, the 112. It's just the 112
the magic
pick
of radio.
It's such a great pick.
Yeah.
To have, if you still have your 112 pick, it's just kind of a cool pick to have. It's like, because that just shows that you're the champion. You're like, yeah, I guess I'll pick now.
You know what?
This is my I guess you guys have a chance. Y'all, fine. I'm gonna go now.
You know what? If Bill Belichick was a dynasty fantasy player, you know what he would do with the 112? He'd trade it for the 203 and a future first.
He would.
Totally what he would do.
I don't know, not the 203. I mean,
that works for me.
Totally.
In the Big Effin League, one of the other league I'm in,
right.
I've traded in a couple of years. I went to the 110 to the 210 and got a future first.
Yeah.
And I've loved doing that. It's great.
You talked about, Dave, earlier, and Bill, I'm going to let you comment on this in a second. I want to get Dave's opinion here first. You commented how you think this is a deep draft this year for dynasty purposes.
Very deep, like 2 full rounds deep.
That's what my question was. So you think it's like 24, those top 24 guys, that's the sexy range, as it were this year.
And Rick Rhodes, to get back to Rick Rhodes' article, he said it's 47% of the first round picks have been,
right.
And then it's 31 for second round. So there is a difference.
There is a significant difference.
But once you get to the third round, it's all garbage.
Oh.
It's like, every once in a while someone hits whatever. But to get to those top 24, and I really think this year, maybe this year it goes to 26, 28. But, this is such a great draft. Anyway, let's ask you.
Yeah, Bill, what do you think as far as this draft? Is it deeper than it has been in years past? What are you looking for the sweet spot in the second round where you're noticing a talent drop off?
Yeah, it does seem deeper than prior years, and so far last year's rookies didn't pan out very well at all. I'm excited for the first couple of rounds here. You guys were talking earlier about John Ross, and now he's off of some draft boards even. So if someone like that could drop to me at 112, I'd be interested. And in the second round, there's really a lot of players I'm kind of excited about. Perrine, I think, has a lot of potential as a power back. Chris Godwin, the Penn State wide receiver, really interesting. Had a great combine. Jamal Williams, maybe flying under the radar a little bit there, running back from BYU. And I do like the wide receivers. You guys were talking about Zay Jones earlier. He's got a real good physique for the position. I think, if I remember right, he's the son of an NFL player, and Taywan Taylor as well. Both those guys with all the production and good bodies for the position. And I'm excited about both of them. And maybe even in the third round, there might be somebody like a Jeremy McNichols that could turn out to be something interesting too.
Talk a little bit about, and Dave, I don't know how you feel about him because we haven't talked to him on the show. I'm kind of down on Samaje Perine a little bit, or Perine. I don't know how to pronounce it. I hear it every some people pronounce it Taylor. I have no idea. Yeah. No, but talk a little bit about why you like him. Is it the fact that he does possess that NFL level body where he is so thick and tough to bring down? Talk a little bit about what you like about him at the next level.
You asking me that question?
Yes, I'm sorry, Bill. Go ahead.
Okay.
Oddly enough, yes, he is.
Yeah.
Dave, Bill? He's so powerful. And if you look back at his freshman season, he had a lot of burst and a little better speed. And I guess he had some ankle injuries that have slowed him down. So there's a question mark around, is that going to be in the past? Is he through that? And can he get back some of that burst to be more of a special player? But I think he outlifted all but 4 of the offensive linemen in the bench press. So, I mean, he's super strong and powerful. I would think he's going to get goal line opportunities wherever he goes, and he could turn into being more of a special all-around 3-down back as well.
I also remember
I like that analysis, actually.
I also remember people talking about him being, and I can't attribute this, so take it for what it's worth, but I remember people talking about how smart he was, like not just football smart, but off the field smart too, like just a brainy type of guy too. I think the problem, maybe this is what's weighing on me, is Melvin Gordon broke the single game rushing record in the NCAAs, and I was like, oh, it's so great, and he did it in 3 quarters against Nebraska, and that record lasted all of 1 week because Perine broke it the following week. I mean, the record had stood for like 35 years, and then Perine broke it.
Academic All Big 12 first team.
There you go. So he is a smart guy too, as well. So
majoring in physical education.
Oh, come on.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what he's saying.
Probably engineering or something like that. Don't Ed. Give me a break. Bill.
Radio, TV, film.
Bill, yeah. Don't see now. It's getting personal. You're just getting personal. Oh, with a minor in journalism. What a dumbass.
I majored in business. Any more, I can major in that. If you can pass financial accounting, anyone can major in business.
I could not pass financial accounting. Bill, you already touched on it with the 112. It sounds like you use the pick. You tell us a couple of the guys that you're hoping for there, but if those guys don't fall to you, it sounds like you'd be fine with moving down into the second round, maybe for a future pick as well. Yeah, I mean, if I could get a second round pick, a few picks later, plus a next year 2, that would work. If I could get a next year 1 for the pick, if I could trade for another player, maybe a Tyrell Williams or Josh Doxson, maybe take a chance on him. Just given the opportunity. Those are some of the things I'm thinking, but it's just going to really depend on who's there when we get there and who gets excited about the pick. I think if I hold it until I have the pick and I'm on the clock, there's going to be somebody itching to get a player and try to make a deal with somebody in that regard. Dave, you don't have your 112 in Carrington anymore, do you?
No, I don't.
You swapped that out. Do you have any late first-round picks anywhere?
By the way, his major was human relations.
Oh, well.
Or whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
No offense, but I'm not too impressed with human relations.
So when we're going down to Chicago in 6 years for the NFL draft, maybe he'll be the concierge at our hotel. Hey, Perine, I remember you. You totally screwed me in Dynasty a couple of years ago.
I got a B in talking 302.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I did get a B in talking 302. How'd you know that? You got my transcript?
Do I have a question?
Yes, go ahead. You're up next. We're going to talk about the Patriots running back.
So I recently on Twitter posted a picture of the shaded out people on the dating game, and it was talking about how this is the New England running back situation every single week. Because you don't know what's going on. You don't know who you're picking. Now, and actually, the picture is actually wrong because there's 3 people in the dating game, and here we have 4.
Yeah, right now. It could be 14 by the time the season rolls around.
Draft someone. They're going to draft Perine over here. Deion Lewis, Rex Burkhead for $3 million, extended James White, and then they acquired. No, Gillislee, is that official now, Balky, or no?
Well, what I've read is that it's a 2-year offer sheet that New England has signed Mike Gillislee to, but everything I've read said it sounds like Buffalo is not going to be matching this, and Gillislee will become a Patriot.
All right, so let's assume he gets there. So we got these 4 dudes. What do you think?
I want no part of that. That just sounds like a headache from week to week. I mean, if you're playing in MFL 10, which I haven't done yet, it might make sense to pick up a couple of those guys if they're cheaper there. But just from a dynasty perspective, that's going to be tough to figure out. I mean, maybe Gillislee has the most LeGarrette Blount-like value, but Rex Burkhead showed himself to be an all-around player too, and White, Super Bowl hero, he can kind of do it all. Dion Lewis, very good as well. So I'm staying away from it personally. I don't own any shares of any of those guys, and I'm going to keep it that way.
And Bill, maybe the story here is not necessarily staying away from New England, but if Gillislee does go from Buffalo to the Patriots, the backup running back to Shady McCoy would essentially be Jonathan Williams, a guy who was talked up in dynasty circles last year as a guy that could be a 3-down back. Maybe he's the type of guy, even if you don't own McCoy in dynasty, it's worth tossing out a trade offer to the Jonathan Williams owner to try to get him on your team.
If he's rostered. Is Williams even rostered?
Well, I mean, he was drafted. Where was he drafted last year? I mean, wasn't he a late second, early third-round pick?
I mean, in FFPC leagues.
Yeah, it's a short bench, yeah. I always forget about that. But, yeah, I mean, Williams is a guy that maybe you'd want to look at.
Yeah, I agree there. There's some definite value opportunity there because he looked like one of the better rookies in the lower tier of the draft last year with potential for 3-down capability, and I would look there for sure.
Let's get to a couple of emails here as long as we have Bill here. Bill McCall, of course, the FFPC 500 number 4 champion from last year.
Also known as Jimmy.
Yeah, also known as Jimmy, apparently.
Depending if it's 420 or not.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's going to be the new thing for the show. Is just we always call the guest Jimmy.
420 Jimmy.
Jack in Dallas, Texas writes, "Greetings, Bill. Do you see any obvious reasons why we shouldn't expect a repeat of what we saw from Jordan Howard last year? Congrats on the title in the FFPC, and thank you for the email." Jack in Dallas, Texas. Jordan Howard came out of nowhere last year. It really took the reins of that Bears job, running back job last year, and crushed it. Was a top 12 running back last year. Is there any fundamental changes to that Bears offense that we should expect maybe Howard to take a step back, or are you expecting more of the same in 2017, Bill?
I'm excited about Howard. I think more of the same. You've got John Fox as a running-driven coach, and Jordan Howard's his guy now, and he's earned that trust. Even as a rookie, he got to do quite a bit, which Fox doesn't always do. I mean, your one concern is going to be the quarterback position. Is Glennon going to be able to put enough fear into the defense that they can move the ball down the field versus stacking the box against the run? But the offensive line did really well against, with the run blocking last year, and they're still intact, I believe. And so I would expect more with Howard, and there's a lot of talent at wide receiver there to open up the field. It's a matter of can Glennon get the ball down the field and keep it opened up for him.
Let's go to Nate in El Toro, California. He writes, "Hey, Bill, I'm starting to get concerned about C.J. Anderson. It seems like at every turn, Elway and the coaching staff has not only failed to endorse him as, quote-unquote, the guy, but have gone to lengths to try and replace him, i.e. Devontae Booker. Should I try and move him before the NFL draft for an early second-round pick?" That is Nate in El Toro, California. So C.J. Anderson essentially is the starter right now, but if you owned him anywhere, Bill, would you be looking to move him to get one of those juicy early second-round picks in this year's rookie draft?
I'm actually buying C.J. Anderson right now. I'm not worried about the knee, but it's something to keep an eye on. He's supposed to be ready for OTAs, was the last I saw. Living here in Denver, I hear him talked up quite a bit. Cecil Lammey is local here and loves him, and he's done really well when he's healthy. So as long as he could be healthy, I would expect we get at least one more good year out of him. And after that next year, it depends how good Booker is this year too. I do still like Booker. I think he kind of flopped in his opportunity a little bit, but he did have a hurt shoulder, and that's pretty tough for a running back to be running in, getting banged around with a hurt shoulder. So I'm going to give him a little bit of slack and see how this next year goes. But in one of my other leagues, I was actually able to I took over a team that had Carlos Hyde, and I'm not a Carlos Hyde guy, and news has come out against Hyde with the 49ers ownership lately, or the GM. I actually was able to trade Hyde for C.J. Anderson plus a next year first, and I was pretty happy with that at the time. At the time, I was happy, but as time's gone on, it's turned into even a better move.
Let me ask you this. I'm kind of putting you on the spot here a little bit, Bill, but since you are in Colorado and certainly have a better handle on the Broncos than we do, you look at what they would do with running back in this year's draft. I don't think that they would go after a running back in the first round, but give me a percentage chance that they would add a running back on day 2 in either round 2 or round 3, that they try to address the running back position. Is it a high percentage chance, low? What would you put that at?
Yeah, I wouldn't think that they're too high on running back, but I would say I'm hearing the buzz on Christian McCaffrey if he is still available there at 20, and his dad playing with the Broncos, and just a local kid. I think there's a chance they wouldn't be able to resist taking him if he's still available. I don't know if he's going to still be available. His hype train is kind of going out of control now, and he might get picked sooner for good reason. But if he's available, they may end up taking him, and that would throw it all out of whack a little bit, and who knows what happens. But if he's not, or they don't take him, maybe in the 3rd round, but probably more like the 4th or 5th round. The way teams can draft running backs pretty late now and still get decent value, I wouldn't see him picking high unless it's McCaffrey.
Have we talked about the bet that you made with Two-Packer?
I'm not sure. Well, let me ask.
Okay, go ahead. I want to bring I want to talk about the bet with Bill after you ask this. Or is that what you were going to ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's what you're going to say.
Yeah.
So, okay. So
I want to do a handicap.
Yeah, there was a bet that was made. How long ago? Was it 2 weeks? 1 week?
Maybe it was like about a week.
Roughly a week and a half ago. Between, of course, mascot of the show, Two-Packer, and Dave, a bet was made about who would be drafted in the NFL draft.
He's a Florida State fan.
Right. So he was saying Dalvin Cook will be drafted first in the NFL draft, and Dave was saying no, it's going to be McCaffrey. Which side would you be on as far as who gets drafted first, and how much of a favorite is your
what
side?
What are the stakes? Do you tell them the stakes?
Well, the stakes are
stakes.
Our stakes, yeah.
Plus drinks.
Yeah, it's dinner and drinks between you two.
In Chicago.
Friday night in Chicago, whichever.
Parking is $76, so this is going to be expensive.
We're do we know it's $76? Is that what it is?
Yeah,
okay.
At the hotel.
I didn't know
We're
that.
staying at the Conrad in Chicago.
All right, so anyway, Andrew Howard is probably going to be picking the restaurant that we're going to be dining at Friday night. But whoever loses has to buy the winner dinner and drinks that night. Mm-hmm. So which side would you be on, and how confident would you be in that side?
I'd be on Dave's side with McCaffrey. Probably 80%. 80%.
Holy cats!
Nice.
Because I saw some blurbs this week even that GMs, anonymous GMs, what have you, have said McCaffrey. The only 2 running backs going in the first round are McCaffrey and Fournette. Cook's going to fall to the second, and Cook has a lot of off-the-field concerns too that could factor into it. So I think that really sways it even more heavily.
Also, did you see McCaffrey's little feet maneuver that he was doing, that Instagram post? That was insane.
Why
did you see that?
Nobody talking? Everybody talks about Dalvin Cook's off-the-field concerns. McCaffrey's off-the-field concerns. Have you seen jaywalking, littering, loitering? It's insane.
I doubt he's even done that, to be honest with you.
Well, whatever. That's just what I've heard.
Overtraining.
Yeah.
Getting up too early.
Yeah.
Too much nutritional shakes.
Yeah. He failed to vote in his last city council election. It's insane. He's not even a good person. It's ridiculous.
Our jokes are getting worse as the night goes on. All right. So let's final wrap it up. Great question here. Give us a rookie you think will be a dynasty bust, hopefully like a first-round type pick, and another rookie that will have a big value as a second or third-round dynasty rookie pick. So give us some secrets.
Yeah, I don't know about any secrets, but just from what I've seen so far, definitely worried about Mike Williams as high as he's going. He looks a lot like Treadwell from last year, and hopefully it's going to work out for Treadwell. But if I had chosen him in any leagues, I'd be pretty disappointed. So Mike Williams, Alvin Kamara, we talked about a little bit. And Njoku, I think, is going too high, just given what I think it's going to take him to get up to speed. But I guess I could be wrong on that. A little bit against the grain there.
One per position. One per position.
I love this. This is just the greatest guest ever.
And I'm really interested to see what happens with Curtis Samuel, because he's in the line of Kamara that could be a bust, but depending where he goes, like if he goes to the Saints or an offense like that, they could really use him in a kind of Brandon Cook / what's the
Reggie
little
Bush?
Running back? Not Reggie Bush. He's on the Eagles now.
Sproles?
Sproles, yeah. Thanks, couldn't think of his name. Kind of fill in a mix of that role. So if he ends up going there, I may be interested in him at the 112. So it's going to be interesting to see. The draft will say a lot. Definitely excited for next Thursday. First round, like you guys were talking about, there's going to be a lot of drama with the first round.
Can you give us a guy that
we need a guy who sucks now.
No, not who sucks.
Who's going to suck?
Yeah, no. A guy who might be picked in.
That's right.
Yes.
Other than maybe
put the pipe down, Dave, for the last time. A guy who might go in the second or third round of your FFPC rookie draft that you might be a little bit higher on than most.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm higher than most, but I do like Zay Jones and Taywan Taylor. I want to read up a little bit more on Carlos Henderson. I'm seeing some interesting things about him, like Matt Harmon. So those are a couple guys in that mid to late second round range. You get into the third round, there's a couple running backs like McNichols that might be interesting. But I'm kind of halfway through the study for digging into the detail. Read the Matt Waldman RSP. That's a great read and well put together. So I'm about halfway through that right now and getting psyched for the draft.
It's awesome that you're halfway through it already. I am still 3/4 of the way through the 2011 RSP. I don't know if it's a slow reader or it's the fact that it's 40,000 pages long every year it comes out.
You're reading the thing on Roy Helu or Shane Vereen?
Yeah. Shane Vereen. What do you think of this guy?
What about Leonard Hankerson?
Yeah,
he looks like a comer.
And I'll tell you, can I let you in on a little secret? I'll just spill the beans here on a player that maybe you're not aware of, Mohamed Sanu.
Oh, God.
Be watching out for him, Mohamed Sanu. Listen, Bill McCall, it has been a pleasure having you on tonight, the 500 number 4 Dynasty champ in the FFPC last year. Best of luck to you not only in the rookie draft, but in all of your leagues this upcoming year. Enjoy the NFL draft, and thank you so much for dedicating some time tonight to chat with us. We really enjoyed it, man.
Thanks, guys. It was a lot of fun. Really appreciate the invite, and good luck to everybody out there.
Thank you so much, Bill McCall. You can check him out. He is Bear Den for his FFPC username. So if you ever see him in a league, you can say, hey, I heard you on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. I'm the listener to that show.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. So awesome. That was great stuff from Bill. We're going to answer your emails and tweets and more coming up here on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak. This is the Fantasy Sports Radio Network. Far be it from us to ignore our listenership. We are here to help you out tonight on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. Eric Balkman, Dave Gerzak, it is time for Fantasy Feedback. And I can't find the button.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I thought it was.
It's not quite time.
All right, just start it over.
Got a question for Eric, Dave, or tonight's guest? Send them a tweet at HSFF Hour on Twitter. Email the show at highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Post it in the chat room during the broadcast. Hashtag your tweet with HSFF or just smack Eric in the head. That's highstakesfantasyfootball@gmail.com or at HSFF Hour on Twitter.
I was telling you about this before the show started. I said I hadn't eaten much today.
Yes.
Had a couple of drinks, maybe during the show tonight.
Yeah. I think I got one drink.
So there's this thing at the Y. We have a family membership there,
yep.
And every Friday they have like this family fun night there. But every 2 or 3 weeks they have this. I think it's called a float and flick or flick and float or something. But you go in one of the pools there, and they put this huge movie screen up, and then they pipe in the sound, and you watch a movie just floating in the pool.
Okay.
And I was like, sounds like a great idea, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And then I was thinking about the logistics of
treading
it.
water.
We put our kids in like the little life jacket puddle jumpers thing.
Like 3 feet, 4 feet?
Yeah, and I told my wife, I'm like, man, I want to put a life jacket on and float in the deep end and just float there and watch this movie. It'd be great. So I was thinking like the logistics of this as we're going to it, and I'm just like, it's going to be loud as hell in there. Like people are going to be.
The echo.
Yeah. Like this isn't gonna work.
It's not a soundproof.
So we went in, and I gotta tell you,
what was the movie?
Moana.
I don't know what that is.
It's the newest Disney movie that came out. I don't know, 5-6 months ago.
Moana. What is it about?
This girl who has to fight a lava monster in Hawaii. I don't really know. It's hard to follow, but
I'm sure you Wikipedia.
So
the plot.
I didn't. I don't know what happens in it.
All right.
So, and I got to tell you, this is my expectation going in. We get in the pool. It is like caddy day in Caddyshack. Like just, it's insane.
Really?
Oh, people are splashing. They're throwing these pool noodles and the mats around. No, there's no Baby Ruth. But they're just like, you couldn't hear anything. Like, it just was, we brought my kids' 2 cousins who are a little bit older than them. We brought them along. We were in there for like 45 minutes, and then we went to the baby pool, hung out in there, and then I'm just like, to hell with it. Let's get out of here. And then we went, there was a bounce house that they played in for a while.
That's pretty awesome.
But yeah, I mean, it was like one of those things that like really sounds good on the surface,
right.
And then you do it. It wasn't that great.
At Disney World they do that where you sit on but it's on the beach, like, but
that's different.
Right, it is different.
Yeah.
You just sit there and it's open.
Sit there
air.
like Moana on the beach.
Like civilized human beings.
Right.
Not some crazy caddies coming.
Right. Yeah. And there was no lacy underall there either. So
there was no caddy manager either.
No, it was really unfortunate. So
no bare feet.
But
no fighting.
On the bright side, Judge Snails wasn't asking the pool to be emptied and scrubbed afterwards either. John in Farmingdale, New York. I haven't heard you guys talk a whole lot about Curtis Samuel. Is it because you're down on him? I feel like he could be a lesser version of Christian McCaffrey in the pros.
More like a lesser version of Tyreek Hill.
That's
my
John,
Uber star.
Farmingdale, New York. Okay, talk about Curtis Samuel then.
I think he could be something. I like him.
All right. Don't look it up. Height and weight. Just take a guess.
6 foot. I'm going to say like 196 to 202. Somebody say 6 foot 196.
5'11", 196. That's pretty good.
Close.
Yeah, that's really good. So he was kind of utilized as like
it was 1 inch off and got the weight.
Running back / wide receiver. We really don't know what he's going to be listed at in the pros. I mean, I would guess probably receiver, but who knows?
That's fine. I mean, that height and weight is fine considering what his skill set.
And given what the NFL does today.
4.31 40. His 40 time. No one's talking about it. You know why? Because of John Ross.
Because of John Ross.
4.20. 4.22. The 4.31 is amazing.
That's very good. And you think about the offense that he was in at Ohio State. It's not like one of these air raid offenses where you can put up massive numbers. I mean, Ohio State had a really good defense, and they played in the Big Ten.
They've got a lot of NFL players that have been fantastic.
Right. So you look at Curtis Samuel. Would he be a guy that you would look at in the late first, early second of rookie drafts?
Absolutely.
There you go.
I could have taken him at the 112 until I pissed it away with my McCaffrey trade.
Yeah, you could have had Christian McCaffrey at the 112. Or a poor man's version of Christian McCaffrey.
Could have had Samuel and probably McCaffrey falling to the 105.
Yeah.
He's not falling to the 105 anymore.
Who? McCaffrey? Yeah, no, I don't think so either.
By the way, somebody was totally dogging on me on the Football Guys message boards about that.
You personally? The Dizzle?
No, I was on, I use Leroy's Aces, so I was posting. I'm like, I go, this is like maybe 2-3 weeks ago. I'm like, by the way, in a few weeks, there's going to be no chance that McCaffrey is going at the 105, 106 range. So if you want him, you have to trade up to the 102, 103.
Right.
And this guy's like, oh, blah, 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 that's impossible. You're wrong, pal. You're just wait and see.
So what did he say? He's like, you would still be able to get him there?
Yeah, he's like, I think it's like 50-50. And the reason is because they always have these polls of like where players go in the rookie draft. And McCaffrey, I think, was a 105 or 106 player. And it's like, dude, it's not how it's going to happen if he gets drafted like 14 or 15 overall or 8, for God's sake.
Percentage chance that he's out there at the 104 in rookie drafts this year?
I think like 30-40%. I think
okay.
if I read this correctly, I feel that Corey Davis will go pretty high.
Yeah.
Williams will go kind of late first. John Ross kind of the same thing, maybe even later.
Yeah.
And then you're gonna have all these running backs go, and you're gonna have Fournette go early. You're gonna have McCaffrey go early, Cook, and then who knows where Mixon's going to go? But I'm guessing Mixon goes in the second. So it's gonna be
second of the NFL draft.
Yeah. So I think it's gonna be Fournette, then McCaffrey, and then Cook, and then the receivers is my guess.
Okay. Glenn in Southfield, Michigan, are you guys buying that the Niners might just take the best player available at 2 and nab Fournette? I'm already having difficulty getting decent value for Hyde in my dynasty leagues, and the bottom will fall out if Fournette goes to San Fran. Is it panic time? That is Glenn in Southfield, Michigan. I own Carlos Hyde in one dynasty league. I don't think I'm in panic mode, but man, it is not looking good.
102?
102. That they had him in for a workout this past week, so there's talk that Fournette could go at the 102.
If he goes at the 102, I mean, I don't.
If he goes at the 102, Carlos Hyde is
worthless.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a handcuff at that point.
He is, because when you're spending that much draft capital, you literally have to play him. It's for your job. The head coach and you're all in. You have to play him.
You have to, yeah.
And he's super talented. I mean,
so if you own Hyde right now, what are you doing? If you did, second round rookie pick, or is that? I mean, to me,
no one's paying for Hyde. Hyde's value right now is in the toilet.
So you couldn't even get a second round pick.
Maybe a late second.
When you would do that for him?
I would take a mid to late second for sure. If someone would actually pay that, yes.
Rocky in Piscataway, New Jersey. Hello, Mel and Todd. Clearly, I am Todd because you have the much better hair than I do.
Mel? What's Mel and Todd?
Mel Kiper Jr. is Todd McShay.
Oh, sorry.
We heard We heard St. Dizzle's top 5 running backs last week. How about his top 5 receivers with less than a week to go until the draft? Big fan of the pod. Thank you to Rocky in Piscataway, New Jersey, not only for listening, but also for writing in. We always like hearing emails from listeners. So, Dizzle, we heard your running backs. Let's list your receivers in order. I think we already touched on this at the top of the show. That you feel Corey Davis is the number 1 receiver in this class. I don't think that's any kind of spoiler at all. But if you were to rank 2 through 5 this year, is there much debate? Is this a tough decision, or is it pretty cut and dry? How do you rank the top 5, or the top 4, I should say, after Corey Davis?
All right, so Corey Davis, number 1. I'm going to go with Ross as number 2 for me personally. Mike Williams, as much as I don't really care for him, I still have to kind of keep him. I have to respect where he's going to get drafted.
Right.
So I would take him at the third pick. My sleeper
for receivers, not
receivers only.
Okay.
Yes,
all right.
My kind of sleeperish receiver would be Chris Godwin. I like him. It kind of follows a little. I like the Penn State connection with Allen Robinson.
I do too, and
he's got that size and height a little bit.
You know what I read today? You know who he worked out with? Calvin Johnson. He's been working out with Megatron.
And people kind of dismiss that stuff, but look at the guys who go to the Fitzgerald receiver camp every year. Those guys always do pretty well.
Cordarrelle Patterson.
Maybe not him. And then at number 5, I'm going to play. To be the wimp here. I'm going to tie it up. I'm going to Zay Jones and Curtis Samuel. I'm going to kind of equivalent to each other.
Significant drop off after the Williams pick, or after Godwin, I should say.
Not really. No, actually, I think significant drop off after those 2 players. To be honest.
Okay, interesting.
Actually, in Taiwan Taylor too. I mean, Taiwan, whatever you want to call him.
Taiwan.
I'm calling him Taiwan my entire career here.
Hey, Balky and Dave, what do you make of Jamal Williams? Could he be this year's Jordan Howard if given the opportunity? That is Ray in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. I think I brought this up on the show. Seemingly every time we talked about Jamal Williams, I know Farrell Elliott, friend of the show, former co-host of the show, commissioner of the Kentucky Fantasy Football State Championship. He likes Jamal Williams quite a bit. I look at this guy, and again, these big running backs that don't catch very many passes, that aren't speed mavens, it's tough for me to get excited about.
How big is he?
I don't know, like 230, 235? Is he not that big?
I'm checking the secondary source here.
Well, Google didn't work? What was he?
Google did work, but they claimed he was 201.
No, maybe he's not that big. Maybe he's that slow to me. That I just think he's just weighs that much because he's just never excited me.
Don't worry. Pro Football Focus compared him to Frank Gore, even though Gore is much bigger.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you look at Jamal Williams from BYU. Any thoughts on him maybe as a late second round pick, or does he even make it that far, Dave?
With a player like that, I'm not that super familiar with him. I'm going to wait to see where he gets drafted.
Right.
If he's going in the 5th, 6th round, probably not so interested. But if he goes a little bit earlier than that, I'll take him more.
That's the other thing that's really, we talk about all these running backs. It's such a deep running back class that GMs are going to be waiting till like the 4th, 5th, 6th round to get, and they're going to get good running backs there. But it's tough for you and I to get excited about a guy who's not being selected until like the top 100 players are off the board.
Right.
It's very, very difficult.
Plus, maybe he has a mission to go on.
God, let's not bring that up again.
BYU.
Final email tonight from one of our, yes, he did go to BYU.
2 years.
From one of our favorite emailers, Javier and Terre Haute, coming back. He writes,
all right, welcome.
Hello, friends. A lot of stuff going on in my life right now. About to be a father for the 2nd time on September 2nd. Very exciting for Javier, so congratulations to him.
Wow,
so
congratulations.
So I am sorry I haven't emailed in a while. Thanks to you guys. I took 2nd in my Dynasty League last year and hoping to get the championship in 2017. What do you make of McCaffrey declining all private workouts? Is he being a diva? Is there something more to this? I really liked everything about him except this. Any insight you can provide is, as always, kind of welcomed. Thanks in advance. That's Javier and Terre Haute. Thank you for emailing. Javier, did you hear about this, though? I feel like I'm like Leno. Hey, did you hear about this? Christian McCaffrey. He's declining all these workouts.
I'm his biggest fan, so I've heard about it.
So to me, this would not necessarily, because you don't want to close doors. You want to make sure that you keep them all open, unless you have some sort of assurance that you will not, that you will be gone by a certain point, and you're like, I'm not going to work out for these teams. I know I'm going to go to this team if I'm still there, and I'm good with that. Is that what it is?
I mean, I think that, his tape shows plenty. His combine shows plenty. He had a pro day workout, and it's like at a certain point, it's like how much running around, or how much. This isn't a beauty pageant. This isn't the swimwear competition. It's like you've seen enough. You don't need me to run around and catch passes for you anymore. So I think that he's just like,
what a diva.
It's not, it's not even being a diva. It's like his agents. Why risk getting injured? You're already guaranteed like a top 20, top 25 pick at the very worst.
I can't even tell you how. I mean, like,
respectfully, we're not doing any more workouts. Look at all the stuff.
I can't even tell you. ESPN, Sirius, CBS Sports, they all said, like, Balky, we got to have you come in, do it. I'm like, no, I got 280 plus episodes of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour. You don't need to bring me into Bristol or New York. You download it and you let me know.
Balky,
they have.
You're fantastic at your job, but you did not run. You didn't run the 3-cone drill like he did.
No.
You don't have the 2015 yardage record.
No, I don't. I definitely don't.
It's the NCAA overall yards record.
Yards from scrimmage?
Yeah,
or
right?
Just overall yards? I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is, that's an overall of all-time record.
Highly impressive, for sure. Much unlike this show tonight, except for our guest, which was great. I appreciate Bill McCall for coming on tonight. A lot of great
Jimmy.
stuff. Thank you, Jimmy. The 500 number 4 FFPC Dynasty champ. Great stuff from him tonight. I want to thank Dave Gerzak. I want to thank the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and of course all of you for once again tuning into the show here on this glorious Friday night, or if you're listening to it on Saturday afternoon on the Fantasy Sports Network. God bless you for putting up with us for this long. Next week, our show, as I mentioned, will be moved up to Wednesday at 10/9 Central. We will have 500 number 8 FFPC Dynasty champ Terry Simonson on the show. That'll be Wednesday, 10/9 Central. We will have no show on Friday, so make sure you tune in on Wednesday. Make your Planet Hollywood reservations now. Sign up for the main event and draft now. Satellites going on tomorrow night and Sunday night this week. So check those out at myffpc.com. Scott Engel and the Fantasy HOF Hour is up next on
this
Fantasy.
Has been
Your
another
weekend
episode
starts now.
of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by myffpc.com. That was broadcast live and heard around the world. Eric and Dave will be back next week with more analysis, interviews, and advice from a guest much smarter than they are. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk with you again next week.
Him again, the sound the engine in is like a bird. You see fireworks and Corvette tires skirt the boulevard. I know how you work, I know just who you are. See, use a bitch, your hormones probably switch inside your DNA.
I think what we should focus on for Wednesday's show is making a second bet between you and Two-Packer, and you giving them some odds.
On what?
On the McCaffrey Cook bet.
Why would I give him? What do you mean?
Hey, give him some odds. He's clearly an underdog at this point.
Like a secondary bet? Like a separate?
Yeah, like a separate bet.
Sure, I'll
and
do it.
Yeah, so we got to hash that out.
He can call in.
I
dare him to call in.
That would be great. Answer the dare. Answer the call. At Two-Packer on Twitter.